Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Voices of Care. We're coming from the heart of Kensington at the CMSUK Annual Awards. The theme this year is to turn adversity into achievement. I'm looking forward to hearing some insights from our guests about this really special event. Thank you.
The profession isn't an easy profession. You've got to be strong, you've got to be assertive, you've got to be compassionate.
Today is all about community and hope and excellence and bringing us all together to really celebrate the wins that are happening out there, the fantastic work that is changing people's lives.
The biggest privilege that we have is time and listening to patients.
When these moments of adversity hit us, it's not about what happens, it's about your ability to look to the future and the doors that have opened.
You never know what the journey's going to be like. If you build up a really good rapport with your opponent right at the start, that's excellent.
The role of the case manager is front and centre, and they are the coordinators. They are the people that manage this very, very challenging journey.
Voices of Care, the healthcare podcast.
Rhiannon, welcome to Voices of Care. Exciting day, awards.
Very
I hate to remind you of your journey, your professional journey as an OT. I think 25, 26 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago now.
And case management is so important because these are life-changing events for people.
Yeah.
What inspired you to become a case manager?
Well, it was an interesting journey, really. I think it's fair to say, and I'm quite an honest person, I fell into case management. So like you said, you reminds me of being an occupational therapist for a long time, really passionate about occupational therapy. And when I decided to have a change from the NHS and from the private sector, I decided that I would take a bit of a leap into the independent world. And I was doing various different roles. I was working as an independent occupational therapist. I started working with some really lovely solicitors. And I also decided to take on the role of being an expert witness. I felt I'd been working as a therapist for a long, long time. So I was very fortunate to be trained by a wonderful occupational therapist, Alison Somek, who I thank forever, really, for my journey to where I am today. And she trained me in the world of litigation and being an expert witness. And through being an expert witness, I fell upon case management. It wasn't a profession that I'd heard of before, and I needed to learn more about it because I had to be able to write about it in my reports. And really, to make me a more credible expert witness, I felt that I needed to take that step into also being a case manager. So if I'm honest, it was default. But when I found out more and more about case management, I realised that it's a truly holistic profession. And occupational therapy, one of our big philosophies is independence, but also being holistic. And I really felt that being a case manager allowed me to be more holistic than I ever was able to be as an occupational therapist. And so for me, that's what I fell in love with then. And the journey has gone on, and every day I still learn more about it, even though I've been doing it for 17 years. You should never say that you know everything. And yeah, I love it more now than I did 17 years ago.
Well, it found you, and I think the phrase that you met some lovely solicitors will be make the legal profession really happy.
They're all lovely.
I'm a former solicitor from a very long time ago, so you made my day. I'm doing a balance as a clinician. That clinical oversight when you're helping and being a case manager with making sure it's flexible enough for individual clients, because it is an individual journey. How do you balance that?
It's tricky. I'm not going to lie. The profession isn't an easy profession. You've got to be strong. You've got to be assertive. You've got to be compassionate. And if I'm honest, it's about holding both of those. It's a balance act. You have to keep reminding yourself that you need to balance clinical oversight with the individual's wishes. And I think so long as you can keep remembering that and bringing it back to it being a balance, then it will be okay. But it is really easy. Nobody's perfect. None of us professionals should ever claim that we're perfect. Sometimes one area can slip a little bit, and you just need to be reminded to bring it back again and hold both of those kind of areas balanced out, really. But it's hard.
It's a little bit of a juggling act, as you say.
It is.
And looking at case management, there's so many disparate parts. You've got to meet the needs of an individual in terms of their education, their employment, health, social care.
Everything.
Now,
you look at all areas of their life.
All areas.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, your background, professional background, you were at Cardiff and Vale and Gwent, NHS through and through.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing that you could suggest, and there's going to be many, how can the case management be better integrated into health and social care? Because
Yeah.
it's a complex moving piece and it's changing all the time.
It is. And I could probably give lots of tips. There's lots. And it's also important to remember that case management doesn't just sit in the litigation industry, which I appreciate is where I work the majority of my time. Yeah. But it is out there in the wider health and social care community. It's out there within charities, in NHS trusts. But if there's just one thing today I could say, I think it would be introducing case management earlier on in a client's life, in their journey. Because sometimes, if I'm honest, it can feel like we're an add-on to somebody's journey. And I think that if we could introduce it a lot sooner, I think that an individual's journey could be more seamless, it could be more productive. I think we could see goals being met sooner. I think it could be cost saving for individuals as well and organisations. Yeah, case management earlier on, better communication as well.
Well, that's a win-win if it's going to be more efficient. Obviously, the CMSUK, it's a special day today, awards.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the profession. I think it's 2005 when the first standards of practice came out. They were revised in 2009. How passionate are you? And I know the CMS are really passionate about driving standards in case management.
We are, absolutely. But we also need to remember now we're really lucky that we have the IRCM that has come into place. So actually for us as an organisation, I feel that we're in a stronger position because of the introduction of IRCM. But what CMS UK does is we create a community and we create a safe place for newly qualified case managers and also case managers that have been in the industry for a really, really long time that need support and still need that guidance. And so having that lovely community together, it means we can share best practices, support each other. And that's what I love about CMS UK, is that we really are there to hold each other up and support that. And then I think the standards flow naturally.
Absolutely. One final question, just to let you get back to everything. I know it's an area that you're very passionate about. You lecture at Cardiff University.
Yeah.
You talked about CMS, of course, supporting case managers who have been involved for a long time.
Yeah.
One final question. What about advice would you give for someone perhaps starting or thinking about joining the profession?
Right. Well, lots of advice could be given, but I'm genuinely passionate about supporting people into the profession because there are some fantastic health and social care professionals out there that will make fantastic case managers. I'm going to have to give a few pieces of advice. So, don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't go on and do it.
Okay. Self-belief.
Some people, self-belief is massive. I had some people on my journey telling me I would never make it into the independent world.
Look.
And I love it now. Have belief in yourself. Be compassionate. Be curious. Do not be afraid to ask questions. If somebody won't answer your question, it means you haven't asked the right person. Keep asking those questions. Those solicitors that I met years ago that took a chance on me to work with their clients, I will forever be grateful for them. And they knew who they are. And it's because I asked questions and they helped me on my journey. So yeah, don't be afraid to go out there and just do it.
You heard it from the person who's walked that journey. Thank you so much for joining us today. And really have a fantastic day at the awards.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Stephanie, welcome to Voices of Care. Great to have you here. CMS UK, it's the awards. Now you're a director and head of comms, so you must be super excited about today.
Oh, it's fantastic. Thank you. Lovely to meet you. It's just such an exciting day. It's a day just to celebrate all the fantastic things that are going on, bring the community together.
And with your OT hat, of course, with Think Therapy First, they're, of course, finalists in the Rehabilitation Innovation Award. So you must be super proud of that whole team to have been recognised in this way.
Absolutely over the moon and so chuffed and fingers crossed.
And as an occupational therapist, I think your area of practice and expertise is in highly specialised injuries. And that's been something you've been practicing for a very long time.
Yeah, not compared to Sam, I guess, not a huge amount of years, but yeah, absolutely. As a company, Think Therapy First, we work with all ages, all injuries. My area that I went into was neuro and rehabilitation science.
And holistic approach is very much core to how you approach this support that you give.
Absolutely, yeah, it's the absolute core of what we do.
And I'm told, as we're sitting here on the podcast, that you're going to be the host of a new podcast with CMS. Tell us a little bit about that. What's it called? Identity First. Super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Identity First, and it's all about, it's all for case managers, anyone working with case managers, anyone touched by case management, but it's also about identity and the things that come along the way that can shake that identity and make us have to shift in between those different roles. So it's a very much a podcast for case managers, but actually I'm hoping that it will reach a bit wider with the type of people that I'm interviewing, and some fantastic conversations.
Well, please keep us informed. We'd love to hear about it. Now, case management at its essence is about that collaboration. There's so many different moving parts, people to support. Through your work, what do you see as head of comms here as the role of these awards in promoting that collaboration in support of the people who've had to face life-changing events?
Yeah, I mean, the awards is the essence of that, isn't it? It's that time to really share those experiences, the things that have worked well, what that best practice is, the innovation, the new things coming forward. It's inspiring for all of us working in case management, be it for years or newly into it. So it's a really fantastic day. It's certainly a day in the year that I really very much look forward to.
And in terms of CMS looking forward for case management, a little bit of a crystal ball, things are changing all the time. Your finger on the pulse as head of comms. Are there like one or two key trends that you're seeing that are transforming the profession? Because it never stands still.
Never. You have a day off or have some leave and you come back and it's moved again. It's a really fast-paced industry, which actually is really exciting and part of it. I think, my part in comms is very much trying to keep on top of that, keeping ahead of that, and building that community and keeping that community together and communicating and addressing the things that the community wants to hear within that.
And in terms of pivotal moments in your own journey, as a clinician, we can't go through all of them, but have there been a particular time that when you've had perhaps you're dealing with people going through life-changing journeys, has there something that's particularly impacted you, been a turning point in terms of wanting to contribute more in terms of your directorship at CMS?
Yeah, I think, there's so many points along the way. I think for me, when I started here in CMS UK, I wanted to be very much about a community, and it was reaching out not just to people working in case management, but people that working in that role, but in different areas. So, internationally, within the NHS, within the prison service. That's when it really kind of inspired me, and I thought, gosh, this has such a huge reach and a potential to really bring everyone together, and those that don't even know about case management.
So we're looking forward to the awards. A lot of people coming here. Fantastic here to be in Kensington. Going to put you on the spot a little bit. If there's one or a few words as head of comms that you would summarise what today stands for, I know it's from adversity to achievement, but what would be the words that encapsulate what you're trying to achieve today?
Today is all about community and hope and excellence, and bringing us all together to really celebrate the wins that are happening out there, the fantastic work that is changing people's lives at one of the most horrific times of their life.
Hope, excellence, and I think communication. Fabulous. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day and enjoy the awards.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Stephanie. Matt, welcome to Voices of Care.
Thank you very much.
Exciting day, awards, etc. I hate to remind you, I think it's nearly 25 years since you left the University of Salford, began your career, and it's been a journey. You're now managing director at Dorset, so it must have been an incredible period of time and a great change. Prosthetics, orthotics.
Yeah, it's something that I still love. I've been privileged to work in this industry, and I've worked actually with Dorset since I graduated for that whole time. So yeah, genuinely passionate about it. I still have a patient caseload, which is probably much to the disgust of some of my employees. But I guess keeping in touch and keeping relevant to what we do is really important. Huge advances in the world of prosthetics and orthotics in the last 20 or so years. I can't imagine. I think there's a patient that I've seen on the table plan today that is coming, using osseointegration as a transhumeral above elbow amputee, and that really has changed the way that we can treat patients. Technology keeps throwing new amazing things out there that ultimately gives our patients back a bit more of what's been taken away.
That's a wonderful way of putting it. It's going to be hard because it's such a long journey. But was there a turning point for you where you really saw up front and close in your clinical work how you could make a difference in the life of someone who's facing really profound change?
Yeah, I guess we talk about this a lot. We've got, with our clinical teams, that the biggest privilege that we have is time. And listening to patients. Yes, we've got all this amazing technology at our fingertips, and we've got the ability to tap into that and use that. But spending time with patients and listening, and I think that's really important, understanding where they're at, and their journey is long. Many of them have been through, life-changing accidents, injuries. We can't turn back time. We can look to the future and we can help them to get to where they want to be. But all of that does take time, and I think that's our biggest privilege.
You talked technology a little bit. We can't go into all the details, but you speak globally around silicon solutions, etc. Are there one or two technologies that are really standing out, that are transforming in terms of the innovation of treatment? I mean, just briefly, because you've been able to see it from such a long perspective.
I think powered devices. When part of the body has been paralyzed or has been taken away through amputation, giving somebody back what's been removed is really challenging. And I think that power and microprocessor technology is really allowing patients to get back something that actually is useful and functional. And also the interface between that power and that technology and the actual residual limb that is there, or the limb that is remaining, is really important. So how we actually harness that useful technology, that's super important.
And one of the key things through that journey, it's a very human journey, technology or otherwise. CMSUK is absolutely dedicated to a code of ethics, driving standards. Speak to us a little bit about how important that is in ensuring that the individual gets the very best treatment in a complex and collaborative process.
Yeah, I think the word collaboration is critical in everything we do. And I was just arrived here this morning and chatting to somebody from an insurance company. CMSUK is an organisation that we've become, incredibly supportive of, because case management is something now that is allowing our patients and our clients to have more than, in terms of support. The case managers, and we're obviously here today to support and to recognise and celebrate the amazing work that they've done over the last 12 months. But they really, they're the glue, they're the cohesion that bind these cases together, and ultimately allow the patient who's had that life-changing injury, it gives them the best support and the best opportunity to be who they want to be in the future. Having that kind of ability to do that in a structured and an organised way is incredibly important.
One final question, if I may, just drawing on your experience from beginning nearly 25 years ago.
You keep telling me that.
Managing director. I think it's an inspiring journey, because it's unusual for someone to stay with a business for that long and go now, and you've led the business through the transformation of the pandemic. If there was someone like you about to start in the same profession, what perhaps one or two key things would you give them as a piece of advice? Put you on the spot.
Enjoy it. I think make the most of it. Listen to your patients. I think I've already said that, but that's really important. What we do is driven by a team. I'm only as good as the team that I work with. And for us, within our clinical environments, it's not just about the clinician seeing the patient. It's about the administrative team that are, liaising and dealing with that patient up front, with the case managers, with the solicitors, with the insurers. It's the workshop that are ultimately creating and putting together these incredible devices, and it's the therapy and everything else. So it's a massive, it's just a big team. So advise you enjoy it, soak it up and listen to your patient, because ultimately they are the ones that know where they want to get to, and you're there to help them.
Well, thank you. Anyone will be listening to that, I think will take that to heart. Big team listening to the patients. Matt, thank you so much for making time, and I look forward to speaking with you later and having a fantastic day at the awards.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you. Darren, welcome to Voices of Care. You're the keynote speaker. We're delighted to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I've been reading up about you and just getting tired, just going through those things, incredible adventures, skiing, kayaking, mountains, 7 continents. What's the drive that takes you there? I mean, it's just incredible to have that philosophy.
I think for me, before my accident, an accident changed my life, I was very adventure minded, and I loved to sort of, see what was possible and get yourself out of your comfort zone and do something difficult. Then I had my climbing accident, when I broke my back and I severed my spinal cord at T6. And all of a sudden the narrative from a lot of people was that world was no longer a world I belonged to, and a world I couldn't return to. And I think actually it was that kind of like doubt and insecurity that actually pushed me to sort of double down on, no, I do belong to that world still, and regardless of a spinal injury or disability or a lack of functioning core muscles and leg muscles or whatever else, I could still do it. So actually I think a life-changing injury made me more determined to live with that kind of adventurous spirit.
Wow. And I was thinking about the 7 marathons in 7 days and 7 contests. Maybe that's the one, but I'm bound to ask you, have there been any of the things that you've done where you've thought in the middle of it, what have I done? I've bitten off more than I could chew here.
Yeah. So the first big adventure I did post-injury was I set out to become the first person to kite from Land's End to John O'Groats, so the length of the UK. But I did it alongside 4 really close friends that were ex-military like myself, that had each had a life-changing injury. And I kind of pitched them this idea of kayaking 1,400 kilometers over a month, however long it was going to take. We trained for a year. We started, and about an hour into the first day, I'd capsized about 4 times. And I was just, the scale of it made me think, like, is this possible for me to do? Is it attainable? Is it achievable? And the first 4 days of that expedition, I had to push really hard through self-doubt and like a lack of self-belief. But actually, I kind of just thought, if you just keep that paddle moving, and if you fall in, you just get back up and you go again, you're going to get yourself closer.
It's interesting because obviously you've talked about the life-turn injury that you had, and I was going to ask you if there'd been a turning point in your life. Clearly that was it. But I think also the surgeon that worked with you, I think the piece of advice saying you've got to start learning to look in the future, in the past. Did those words resonate? Maybe it took some time to resonate.
Yeah. So obviously had my accident on the 6th of August. That evening I went through 9 hours of surgery, and I woke up on an intensive care ward the next morning. And the surgeon kind of, did the rounds and stood at the end of my bed, and he told me what had happened. So like the force of the impact had broken my back into 2 pieces. And he just kind of told me, what it meant for the rest of my life. And he said, no matter how hard you try, whether you give this a year, 2 years or 10 of everything you've got, you're never going to be back up on your feet. I'm really sorry. He said, but if I could offer you one piece of advice, it would be this. It's that when things like this happen in life, when these moments of adversity hit us, it's not about what happens, it's about your ability to look to the future and the doors that have opened, and not to waste any energy looking over your shoulder to the doors that shut behind you. Because he said, for the next year, make sure you're not wasting your effort and energy on the wrong things. And I don't think I really appreciated what he said at the time, because I genuinely didn't believe him, didn't believe that doors had opened. I felt like doors had just shut, what possibly could have opened for me. But he was right and I was wrong, but it took a couple of weeks, couple of months to start figuring all of that out. But really powerful advice.
Well, I think all of us could learn. I mean, some of the expeditions and some of the things that you've undertaken, of course, are huge kudos to your individual spirit, but they are team efforts. And I just wanted to see if you could tease out one or two key lessons of collaboration, because that's one of the very key themes here at the awards today for the CMSUK. How important is that, and how do you inculcate that so people are pulling together? I guess the military esprit de corps clearly helped in that way.
I guess so, but I think it's not just a military uniquely military trait. For me, I think that the phrase I always tend to use is success is never solo. You know, so say that Land's End Shot Gross kayak expedition, what you didn't see were the 20 people behind the scene making it happen. On the day of my accident, what people don't focus on is my best friend risked his life to save mine. You know, for the next 5 months, I was supported by physios, OTs, nurses, doctors, surgeons, healthcare assistants. You know, this whole team that empowered and enabled the individual. Leaving hospital, my friends and family rallied around me. When I announced weird and wonderful ambitions, they were like, "We're with you." You know, and with 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents, that was me running it, but who was behind me? It was 2 of my closest friends, you know, picking me up off the floor when I was absolutely knackered, packing my kit for me when I could barely open my eyes. You know, so nothing I've done has been solo. And if it was purely based on me on my own, there'd be no story to tell. So I genuinely do mean and believe that success is never solo kind of mantra.
And for those of people perhaps who are watching this, who are going through their own journeys, whether that's through an injury or life, and it is easy to drop into the idea that I've got these limitations, and how do they, I mean, you've touched upon them, but are there a couple of bits of advice you can help people to shatter those limitations and sometimes the boundaries we impose on ourselves?
Yeah, I think from a disability angle, you know, that kind of adapt and overcome mantra is really powerful. I think if you're able to not see the barriers and the full stops and the reasons to stop, and you're able to see the way that you can adapt the thing that you do, and like we just said on that point around teamwork, if you've got the right team around you, they will help you to adapt to any given scenario and make it possible. You know, and I think I've found that people are far more forthcoming and happy to help than I ever kind of, you know, thought possible. And I think for anybody that's, you know, able-bodied, that's listening or watching this and is kind of imposing those self-limiting beliefs on themselves, I think that the big call to action would be just, you know, like we got one shot at life, and none of us know when it's going to end. For me, it nearly ended when I was 27 years old. And the only regret I ever would have had would have been not doing enough with my life and not seeing what was possible. So I think, you know, we each sit and label things as impossible. We do it every day. And I think the next time we find ourselves falling into that trap, we should just challenge the notion of impossible and give it a go. And if we fail, then we learn from it and we come back stronger.
Absolutely. One final question. What's on the horizon for you? I mean, after all of these things, anything particular on your radar that you can tell us about? Because I suspect you're not sitting here thinking, "Oh, I'm just going to relax." I've got the impression that you've got a number of other mountains to climb.
I think for me, after the South Pole in December, which is going to be a huge one, I think it's just helping others to start writing their own story. And I mean that in terms of, you know, I've met lots of individuals with various disabilities that are just lacking that support mechanism. And I think there should be more adaptive adventurers in the world. There's about 5, you know, there should be hundreds. So let's try and create the next generation of people with disabilities that do incredible things.
More adaptive adventurers. On that note, thank you very much, Darren, for sharing your time and your inspiration.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Sue, welcome to Voices of Care. It's great to have you here.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
You're welcome. CMSUK is the awards. You as an insurer, of course, this is a very important part of the work that you do. And I was struck, if I may start with, where is it year 38 now that you've been with AVIVA?
Yes, we were just saying, yes, I've been there 38 years, a long time, since I joined in 1987.
And your qualifications, actually, you also have, because obviously case management comprises many different elements that you have to combine, but your own background as a legal exec, this is something that you trained for throughout your career.
Yes, when I joined AVIVA, which was then Norwich Union, I was then studying the legal executive exams, which I qualified, and actually helps me with the role that I have.
And I think you began your journey, I think, in property and other things you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
What drew you to this world of complex injuries? I mean, it's very rewarding, but
Yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted sometimes.
Yeah. Well, when I applied to join AVIVA in '87, I did apply to do injury cases, but I ended up in the property department. But the great thing about AVIVA is there's always opportunities. And so when the opportunity arose, I'd got my legal exec exams and I moved into the injury teams. And the attraction there really is being able to actually help claimants who obviously have been badly hurt and try and help them with rehabilitation to put them in a better place. So when we settle the claim, they're in a lot better situation than where they were, when the accident happened.
And in supporting claimants through a life-changing situation, legal complexity, a myriad of organisations, you sit at the centre of that. How do you square that circle? Because collaboration is so important. Are there perhaps 2 or 3 key things you would advise others, in whatever background, that must be key to making sure that journey for the individual is seamless?
Yeah, that's always one of the barriers we face, because we do have specialist panel solicitors that we instruct who will then speak to the claimant solicitors. And you never know what the journey is going to be like. If you build up a really good rapport with your opponent right at the start, that's excellent, because if you've got a case manager on board, we can all jump on Teams calls and problem solve as we go along. It's much harder if you haven't got that dialogue to help that particular claimant. And it's a challenge that's always been here, unfortunately. But we do our best to try and break those barriers down.
And if there is one thing, there's probably going to be more than one thing, because again, those individuals that are getting supported through case management have their health and social care needs attended to, education, employment. If there is one thing about how the rehabilitation process and all of this case management could be better integrated to the health and social care system, what would that be? Perhaps getting involved earlier in the whole process?
Well, AVIVA, we've over the last 2 or 3 years, we've pioneered a strategy where we are looking to get claims where there is a catastrophic injury, serious injury, to us as soon as they're reported at the front end. So I've done a lot of training talking to our motor damage handlers who are either contacted by our customers to report their accident, or they contact us by email or directly through our portals. And we give them the tools to listen to what the customer's saying and think, yes, that's a serious injury, and they will tell us straight away. And we've also got an analytics tool that does data mining that generates the list every day. So our goal now is to get those cases to us as soon as they're reported. We can then decide, looking at cover, if cover's okay, having a look at liability, where we think the case is going to go. And if it's a case where we want to get engaged straight away, we can then talk to our opponent and talk about, let's get a case manager on this as soon as possible. I mean, in some cases, we've been able to do it just before the person's discharged from hospital. So you can immediately start to try and put together a package for them so they're not on their own. So, we've done a lot of work, and it's been very successful with what we've done.
And that's really important, because, of course, the emotional impact for someone going through all of this is profound. A couple of final questions, if I may. CMSUK are completely dedicated, as part of their core principles, to raise standards. They've got a standard of practice. They've got a code of ethics. With your experience, that is fundamentally important, because that's going to help all stakeholders in this process.
They do they provide a very valuable service, helping case managers from whatever level they are, whether they're experienced, new to the business, with supporting them with their education, keeping them up to date with relevant topics. And they do that through webinars, conferences, and they're very careful at selecting very good quality speakers to, deliver whatever message the case manager needs to help them with their role. And I've been lucky enough to speak at 3 of their annual conferences as well. So they do a fantastic job.
And one final question. I know that you manage the rehabilitation strategy at AVIVA, but you also mentor claims handlers. Anyone perhaps like you all those years ago looking to enter this whole field, what would be 1 or 2 key pieces of advice that you would give?
Yeah, well, I had a thought about that, and it's something that you develop as you go along. But the key is to, remain objective in all situations, develop very good communication skills, learning to listen to what everybody's saying, particularly the message coming through from the claimant. Empathy is very important as well. Don't be afraid to challenge and question and look to problem solve. The other key thing as well is to manage expectations. That's can be a difficult thing to do, because from our point of view, it's not always possible to fix everything for that claimant or quickly. There could be causation reasons, and it's important to explain why and be clear what you can help with and possibly what we can't help with. But there might be another solution to it. So it's thinking that. But I think one of the key things I would give to people starting out, if you can find a mentor, they are worth their weight in gold. I've had quite a few mentors through my career, and I've learnt such a lot from them. Look for a mentor that you respect, you get on with, and it's really going to develop your skills.
Sue, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'll let you get back to the awards. Have a really wonderful celebration. And I look forward to seeing you later, because I'll be joining the awards table at some point.
Thank you. Pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Sue.
Okay.
Michelle, welcome to Voices of Care. Exciting time, CMSUK Awards, and obviously something very close to your heart in terms of supporting the patient journey.
Absolutely, Suhail. And thank you for inviting me. Always a pleasure. And it's our first experience of the awards with CMS. But of course, the foundation of why the awards were built is absolutely paramount to how we feel about celebrating those that are doing a wonderful job in healthcare. And working with case management as we do is a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure.
And case management, I'm a former lawyer a long time ago. It's a complex process that people have to support individuals who are facing life-changing injuries and events. And the key is going to be to integrate that with the health and social care system. Now, as a clinician, as someone with a co-founder of New Cross almost 30 years ago, that's an area where you're very passionate about, to make sure that the care and support that individuals get from New Cross is the best that they can expect.
Absolutely, Suhail, without question. And the role of the case manager is front and centre. And they are the coordinators. They are the people that manage this very, very challenging journey for any individual. And the journey for the individuals is very different. So their expertise is to navigate all the various routes that this individual needs to take to ultimately achieve the best care solution for them. And the individual is at the centre of everything, every decision. They are consulted. They're part of their own journey. In fact, they craft their own journey with the case manager and the expertise of that case manager.
And CMSUK, one of the key principles that they support is that collaboration, because you have lawyers, you have the providers of care, insurers, Talk about that, because I think New Cross has been playing an important role in informing that collaboration in recent events.
Again, without question, collaboration is key. You can't get to best solution without it. And honest, open, transparent collaboration is fundamental. And we experience that, every day in the lives of our service users. And the journey doesn't just end when a service is commissioned. It's part of a new journey then. And it's part of a journey that will change throughout that individual's lifetime. So it's very important that right at the very beginning, that the correct choices are made for that person, so that the journey starts in the right place with the right people that are collaborating together.
One final question, if I may. You remain as passionate today as when you started this journey as a clinician. Talk to us about the care that New Cross provides, because I think we've seen quite a lot of publicity around in some of the expertise. It's life-changing, and it must be something you're desperately proud of.
I really am, Suhail. I'm proud of so many things. And one is our ability to be very responsive, to be agile, and to be constantly reviewing how we operate. And you have to operate very differently in the landscape that we are providing services in. And that's through, it's how you utilize your technology, how you train your people, how you monitor. Because the service users that we now bring a form of a new life for them. I want to try and get the right words here. It's that they're embarking on quite often a journey that they never thought they would have to embark on. And it's the same for their families. And so you have to be so very resourceful. And that's what I'm very proud of. We are extremely resourceful. We are very strongly aligned to the right ethics that you should have as an operator. And that's to gain the best outcome for the individual, no matter what. And that's what I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of how we are very risk averse. That's not to say that we don't operate safely. Safety is our paramount consideration, but it's having that ability with the skills that we have within the business to think outside the box and to truly create a life for individuals, that they have pleasure in life. They achieve goals that they probably thought they would never achieve, and the same for their families. So it's just an absolute pleasure. It really is.
Well, it shines through in what you're saying. It's great to have you on Voice of Care. I'll let you get back to the awards. I think there's a keynote speaker who's going to be talking about how you can break through those barriers. So, Michelle, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to this afternoon.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure you agree it's been a really brilliant privilege to hear from our guests in this special episode. If you've liked this episode of Voice of Care, please like, follow or subscribe wherever you receive your podcasts. And if you want to learn how we're turning the dial on the health and social care debate, please visit newcrosshealthcare.com/Voices of Care. In the meantime, I'm Suhail Mirza. Thank you very much for joining us today and look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.
Voices of Care, the Healthcare Podcast.